Sounds crazy to say that just imagining something hard enough can make it real, right? Especially when you're drowning in bills, stress, and a reality screaming the opposite. But what if I told you that everything you see today started as an invisible thought? What if what you're missing isn't effort, but vision? Neville Goddard made it crystal clear. You don't need luck or outside approval. You need to live in the end, now. And what if I showed you stories that prove this in almost unbelievable ways? Hold on, we're getting there. This goes against everything we were taught. Since we were kids, we've heard that dreaming doesn't pay the bills. But what if the real problem was never dreaming too big, but settling for living too small? Neville proved the opposite with real-life examples. It's the dream, when fully felt in the imagination, that pays for everything. The Neville Goddard method doesn't ask for blind faith, but daily practice. A clear imaginary scene, full of emotion, repeated with inner persistence. And this isn't just feel-good talk. People are transforming their lives like this, quietly. In this video, you'll understand why imagination isn't just fantasy. It's a tool. You'll hear real stories, learn the step-by-step of the method, and recognize the signs of manifestation you might already be missing. Get ready, because once you see this, it'll be hard to unsee. After all, if imagination creates reality, and Neville proved it, then maybe it's time to use that power consciously. You might not realize it, but you've been creating your world on autopilot day after day, without intention, just repetition. Even before you open your eyes in the morning, you're already creating. The mind wakes up before the body, and that quiet, invisible space is where it all begins. Imagination isn't a distraction from reality, it's the source of it. It's like a blank canvas that faithfully reflects what you project. Once you realize that imagining is planting, the harvest becomes a matter of time and inner persistence. Think about it. No action ever happens without an invisible impulse. An athlete visualizes the win before the race. An artist sees the finished painting before touching the brush. Even a tough conversation is rehearsed in the mind before it's spoken. That's not a coincidence. That's the law of assumption at work. Living in the end, as Neville Goddard would say, means embodying the result before the physical world shows it. Conscious creation starts right there, inside, not outside. If you've ever caught yourself daydreaming about a different life, know this, mindus. That wasn't just fantasy, it was creation. That's exactly where Neville Goddard's method begins. A vivid, repeated imaginary scene, filled with emotion, becomes a seed planted in the fertile soil of your awareness. And when you feel it in imagination, as if it's real, the external world shifts. But here's the key. Only those who believe, even without seeing, can truly feel it. And that's when things begin to move. Neville Goddard wasn't just a thinker, he was a soul-level experimenter. His life was living proof that imagination creates reality. He didn't just talk theory, he lived it. Picture someone who lost their job and instead of panicking, decided to live in the end, mentally accepting they were already employed again. That's exactly what Neville did, and he got the job he wanted, in the exact place and time he had rehearsed in his mind. What's fascinating is that he didn't sell miracles. He offered responsibility. He'd say, "You are the creator of your experience." And that makes people uncomfortable because it puts the power to change in our hands, the one place we usually try to avoid. The Neville Goddard method teaches that everything begins with a mental scene and becomes real through inner persistence. He proved over and over that feeling it in imagination is the real secret. One of his most well-known stories is when he wanted to visit Barbados but had no money. Instead of complaining, he closed his eyes and imagined the salty air, the breeze on his face, the tropical warmth. Days later, a string of coincidences led someone to offer him tickets. Coincidence? Not if you understand the signs of manifestation. Neville lived in the end without negotiating with logic, and that's why his ideas still echo as a call to conscious creation. But there's one detail that most people overlook in what he did, and it changes everything. I'll explain it in a second. There's something incredibly powerful about real-life stories. A woman, after years of trying to get pregnant with no success, let go of the despair and applied Neville Goddard's method. Every night, before falling asleep, she imagined holding her baby, felt the weight, the smell, the warmth against her chest. She wasn't hoping anymore. She was living in the end. 3 months later, with no treatment, she got pregnant. That imaginary scene had planted a new reality. Another story is about a man who lost everything during a financial crisis. Instead of drowning in guilt, he practiced feeling in imagination. He pictured a positive bank balance, clients calling, contracts being signed. Soon opportunities started showing up, ones he hadn't even considered. Conscious creation rewired the field, not because he thought positively, but because he emotionally assumed the end he wanted. These stories aren't rare, they're clues. Signs of manifestation often start subtle, but become obvious to those who observe with faith. It's like a plant sprouting. First the root, invisible, then the stem, timid, and one day, without warning, the flower opens. If you water it with emotion, it will bloom, and when it does, you'll remember exactly where it all started. Once you understand that imagination creates reality, you start valuing the invisible more than the visible. Which brings us to the next big question. How do you actually apply this method in practice? The power of Neville Goddard's method lies in a simplicity most people overlook. You close your eyes, take a deep breath, and create an imaginary scene that reflects your desired outcome. It's not about thinking positively, it's about performing with all your senses what you would live if it were already real. It's like rehearsing a play where your role is the fulfilled version of yourself. That scene becomes a fixed point in your mind, and the universe starts to align with it. Want to know how to do this practically, even if you don't know where to start? Let me show you. Let's say you want to move to a new city. Don't imagine the plane taking off. Picture yourself already in your new apartment, hanging pictures on the wall, taking in the smell of the neighborhood. Live in the end. Want a new relationship? Don't picture a specific person. Feel the joy of being loved, of hearing laughter that warms your heart. The secret is in the emotional detail. It's not just visual, it's sensory, and above all, it's emotional. The method doesn't require physical effort, but it does demand inner persistence. Quietly repeating this inner experience starts to shape your frequency, like tuning into a radio station. The clearer and more vivid your imaginary scene is, the faster reality begins to respond. And if you do it right, one day you'll catch yourself smiling for no reason, feeling something that hasn't happened yet, as if it already had. And that's when the most powerful part kicks in. Visualization is the beginning, but feeling is the true engine. It's the emotion that turns a simple mental picture into conscious creation. Neville Goddard used to say, "Feeling is the secret," and he meant it. When you feel something in your imagination, your body reacts. Your heart beats faster, your skin tingles, your eyes water, and your subconscious accepts it as real. Doesn't matter if it's physical or not. What matters is that you felt it as truth. A lot of people get stuck thinking they need perfect visual details, but seeing a mansion means nothing if deep down you still feel small. Meanwhile, a simple scene, like hugging someone you love or celebrating a win with a genuine smile, can carry massive power if it's loaded with emotion. That's the heat of "it's already mine." When you get that, you stop looking for proof. The signs of manifestation start inside, with a joy that has no cause, a peace that doesn't need a reason. If you can feel that for even 30 seconds, you're already reprogramming your mind for a new standard. A great exercise is to remember a real moment from your past that was full of emotion. A win, a reunion, a surprise. Notice how your body reacts just from remembering. Now imagine generating that same impact from something that hasn't happened yet. That's the point. Living in the end is about evoking the feeling before the evidence, and if you keep feeling it, the outer world will catch up, because what you feel is shaping what's coming. The mind has no limits. While the outside world sets rules, deadlines, and obstacles, imagination opens doors. You could be sitting in a tiny room, but the moment you close your eyes, you're walking the streets of Paris or giving a speech to a packed crowd. No waiting in line, no permission slips, no gatekeepers. Your inner world is a lab where anything can be created, and once you realize that, everything changes, because that's where the future really begins. Funny how we spend more energy planning the impossible out there than daring to create it in here. Conscious creation doesn't need external structure, just the courage to break internal limits. Neville Goddard called this place your inner reality, where you already live what you want without asking the world for permission. It's the law of assumption at work. You assume it internally without needing proof, and the outside world adjusts. It's radical, and that's why it's so powerful. One of the best examples is imagining something that in the real world feels way out of reach, like a new career, for instance. In imagination, you don't need a degree. You can already see yourself doing the work, delivering value, being recognized, And when you feel that consistently, the right ideas, key people, and golden opportunities start to show up. It's like the universe saying, "You're ready." But before any of that can happen, you have to hold the vision with faith, even when the outside doesn't show it yet. Sometimes, your outside world still looks the same, but inside, something has shifted. You wake up feeling lighter, with a quiet sense of peace, and you don't even know why. That's one of the first signs of manifestation, a calm that shows up out of nowhere, because the end has already been accepted within. Imagination creates reality, but before it changes your life, it changes you. It's like your body starts aligning with what your heart has already decided to live. Other signs are more subtle, little synchronicities. You overhear someone talking about the exact thing you imagined. You randomly find content that supports your vision, or a coincidence pops up that feels too perfect to ignore. These are symbolic confirmations. Neville Goddard said reality starts reflecting in ways that feel almost magical, and once you've experienced it even once, you start recognizing the patterns, and you stop doubting conscious creation. There's also that deeper inner sign, certainty. Not arrogance, not fake positivity, just a quiet, solid conviction that keeps you going, even without applause or evidence. You're no longer begging the universe, you're thanking it, because you're already living in the end. And once that certainty locks in, it's only a matter of time before the invisible becomes visible. But that's also when the biggest challenge shows up, the one that separates those who hope from those who manifest. It's not always easy to stay connected to your imagined scene. Sometimes, halfway through the process, doubt creeps in, fear, that inner voice whispering, "What if it doesn't work?" That's just your old self trying to pull you back into the familiar. But here's something Neville Goddard made clear. When resistance shows up, it means change has already begun. The ego screams loudest when it senses it's losing control. And believe it or not, that's a good sign. If it's screaming now, maybe it's because you're about to level up. So what do you do in those moments? Inner persistence. Don't argue with the negative thoughts. Return to your scene, rebuild it, reconnect to the feeling, repeat it like a sacred ritual. If it helps, write down what you felt or record a voice memo describing the end with as much emotion as possible. These little anchors help stabilize the vision. Imagination creates reality, but it needs to be nourished. And nothing feeds it better than the emotional habit of coming back to your center daily. And please, don't beat yourself up for slipping. Everyone deals with resistance. Even Neville did. The key is not negotiating with your old self. Live in the end, even if your body is shaking. Real transformation always feels uncomfortable at first. It's the sign that something's breaking out of its cocoon. Your imagined scene needs to become more familiar than your doubts. And when that happens, the world outside starts to shift, slowly but surely. Creating the scene is just the beginning. The real power lies in sustaining it, not once in a while, but with emotional consistency. Neville Goddard called this dwelling in the scene, like returning to the same home every night. It's an internal place where you feel safe, even if the outside doesn't reflect it yet. Inner persistence means revisiting that feeling over and over again until the mirror of life begins to bend. A lot of people give up halfway, thinking, it's not working, but the truth is, it's working like a seed in the soil. You don't dig it up every day to see if it's sprouting. You water it, you trust, you stay steady, and in this case, your water is emotion-filled imagination. Replaying that inner movie with the same spark you had the first time is what keeps your energy aligned. That's where true conscious creation lives. If you want to go even deeper, turn your scene into a ritual. Do it before bed, or right when you wake up. Those twilight moments between sleep and waking are when the mind is most open. Use soft music, a grounding phrase, or even write "it's already mine" on paper. The key is to keep the scene alive, because when you live in the end consistently, life gets the message. And then, out of nowhere, what was once invisible knocks on your door. And in the next section, you'll see exactly why that happens with such precision. There comes a moment when what you imagined becomes real, and that's when many people stop. But Neville Goddard showed that conscious creation doesn't have a finish line. It's a cycle. You imagine, you feel it, you live it internally, you manifest it. And then, instead of stopping, you climb to the next level. Because imagination creates reality, yes, but it also expands it. It's not just about getting something, it's about becoming someone. Maybe you manifested that dream job. So, what now? You keep going. You create a better work environment, new experiences, a new level of abundance. Feeling it in imagination is a continuous practice, not a one-time thing. Life isn't a final destination, it's a spiral staircase, and each new reality becomes the platform for the next desire. Neville called this the eternal now, a present moment that's always evolving. When you understand that, you never stop. You live in the end, and once that end becomes your reality, you define a new one. Your imagined scene evolves with your awareness, and that's beautiful, because it means you're never at the mercy of chance again. Conscious creation becomes a lifestyle, and over time, the signs of manifestation show up so quickly that you just smile and think, of course, I already knew. Now let me ask you something. If everything you've heard today makes sense, what's stopping you from applying it? What are you waiting for to close your eyes and truly live the life you want? Imagination creates reality, but it needs your decision. You've spent so much time imagining problems. Why not imagine your victory with the same intensity? What if the only thing missing isn't time or money, but the right scene? You already understand the Neville Goddard method. You've seen how feeling in imagination changes everything, and you've noticed the signs of manifestation might be closer than you thought. So what's the first scene you're going to imagine? What's the end you'll choose to live today? Drop it in the comments. I want to know what you're deciding to manifest from now on. Share it with me, with this community, and claim your new beginning. And of course, if this content made sense to you, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. That way, you'll keep receiving deep insights like this, the kind you won't find just anywhere. Imagination is calling. So what's the next step you are going to take today? Drop it in the comments and let's grow together.